An injury scare today in Allen Park, and Charlie Batch is with us.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Derry with you on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on a Wednesday, August 21st and a Thursday, August 22nd. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen. And, of course, those of you that watch and subscribe daily on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel, we appreciate you guys checking us out on the video side. If you're not a subscriber, please do that and do that today. Locked On Lions for today is proudly brought to you by our good friends at the Gametime app. If you're looking for tickets, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You can follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, the Matt Derry Facebook fan page where we appreciate the comments as well. And of course, like I said before, on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up on the show today, we got to give you the latest on Penei Sewell. Not good, but certainly no one knows what happened today. Well, people know what happened. He turned his ankle. The problem is, how severe is this ankle and foot injury for the Lions' best offensive lineman? We will get into that coming up momentarily. Charlie Batch is going to join us. Lions play the Steelers on Saturday. It is the final preseason game. Thank goodness. Charlie Batch is the TV analyst for the preseason games on the Steelers network. Still keeps in touch with his former teammates here in Detroit. Still is all over the Lions and what they do. Obviously, living in Pittsburgh, though, and being a former Steeler. We're going to get Charlie's thoughts on the Lions, the Steelers, the game on Saturday. All of that coming up here on the program as well on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. Do not forget the postcast on Saturday following Lions and Steelers around 4 o'clock live on Locked On Detroit Sports with Jake Riepma, who hosts all those postcasts, whether it's Tigers playing in Chicago against the Cubs tonight, minute the game ends. Check out Jake. He's got the postcast for you. And I'm sure he'll break down Jason Benetti and Johnny Kane eating Chicago hot dogs today, because that's the content you want. But hey, I'll be back with you Monday following Lions and Steelers. There's a chance I will be at Ford Field on Saturday. I'm working on that right now. All right, news of the day. The Lions had another sort of one-on-one. They did a little bit of a scrimmage, got their regulars in there, did some one-on-one work and everything else. And what came out of it was on the third offensive play of the day today, Penei Sewell went down and was pass blocking. It appears injured his left foot. And the Lions did admit after practice that it's a left foot injury and he's being evaluated. Sewell walked off to the side, worked with the trainers. They took off his shoe. They took off his sock. They were massaging his foot. And then he walked into the locker room. Yes, under his own power, which is a good thing. The cart did not come out. All right. The cart did not come out. But anytime you have a high impact player, you have a guy like that is considered the best right tackle in football, one of the top 3 tackles, left side, right side in all the NFL, a guy that is just a cornerstone for your offensive line, which has helped you go from 3 wins to 9 wins to 12, plus the 2 last year in the playoffs, to a 14-win team when you can dominate up front with players like Frank Ragnow and Graham Glasgow and Zeitler and Decker. And you've got Sewell, who is so good. To lose him, everybody just everybody catches their breath and is scared. And again, all the reporters that were down there are saying the same thing right now as we record in the 5 o'clock hour Eastern time. No one knows the severity of it. Brian Branch was interviewed after practice today and said he doesn't think it's serious. But again, Brian Branch is not a medical professional. He's damn good safety and cornerback, but he's, saying that they're hoping for the best. The fact that Sewell could put a little bit of pressure on it as he was walking off is a good sign. Again, not carted off, not carried off. But I can guarantee you that we will not see Penei Sewell practicing anything for a little while here to get him hopefully ready for September 8th. Hopefully it's just a little bit of a sprain or a bruise and nothing serious like an Achilles or a break. let's just hope for the best. Colby Sorsdahl was taking the reps the rest of the way as the second team right tackle throughout practice today. But man, you think about this, and you think about all the guys and all the talent that the Lions have, but Sewell is just irreplaceable. Frank Ragnow to me is the Lions like MVP. Like, is he their best player? You could argue that. I think Sewell is probably, if you look at the PFF grades and the metrics, Sewell's probably their best player. Amon-Ra St. Brown touches the football. Jared Goff. I mean, these guys are great football players. Aiden Hutchinson is turning into a great player. But Penei Sewell, he's top of the class at right tackle. He's great. He's elite. You can't lose a guy like that. So hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully Branch was right. Again, the Lions are going to do a walkthrough tomorrow. You're probably not going to get Dan Campbell talking about Sewell until the pregame radio interview with Dan Miller on Saturday. Like, tune into the Ticket or the Lions radio network in the noon hour. That's probably where we're going to have to hear something about Sewell. I'm assuming Dan will probably record that interview tomorrow or Friday with Campbell, and hopefully we'll get an update then. But unless the Lions give us something, but man, that just is scary when you see the big guy go down. He's that good. He is that good. So hopefully he is okay for Saturday. Charlie Batch, or not for Saturday, for September 8th. He's not playing Saturday. He wouldn't have played Saturday anyway. Charlie Batch, the former Lions quarterback. Remember 1998 when he took over for Scott Mitchell and literally almost got decapitated in Minnesota? I was there at the old Metrodome. It was scary. I think Charlie got sacked like 10 times. That poor kid. Went on to a great career with the Steelers, won a Super Bowl. He's going to join us coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. But first, Locked On Lions brought to you by the Gametime app. Gametime, baby. It's the best place to get tickets. And now they got a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Seriously, they are fantastic. Gametime Picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They got that all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout like some of these other sites do. All right? You have to love it. You absolutely have to love the all-in pricing. They got views from your seat. They got lowest price guarantees. Everything you want, they've got at Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, folks, as promised right now, our good buddy back on Locked On Lions, back in Detroit, and he will be back on Saturday calling the game for the Steelers TV network. The former Lion quarterback, 15 years in the NFL. The man, Charlie Batch. What's up, brother?
Not much. How you doing, sir?
Long time no see. How you been?
I'm doing well. Busy, but I'm not complaining. So it's been a very busy summer down here. But either way, I'm excited now that football season has started.
And you're coming back to Detroit.
Yes.
I know you come back periodically and you do stuff with Eastern, but when was the last time you were at Ford Field?
Oh, man. It may have been probably when Eastern Michigan played in the bowl game. They played against Pitt. And I'm sitting here having to watch Kenny Pickett beat the Eagles there, and he threw a touchdown late in the fourth quarter and beat us. So of course I had to complain about that over the years. I'm like, Kenny, I owe you for that, because that would have been a big victory for us at Ford Field. But that essentially was the last time that I was there. So I think that had to be about 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. 4 or 5 years ago.
And you're active with the school. I know the NIL stuff and TJ Lang and all these guys. You guys are giving it an effort here to help Coach Creighton out. I know you're a big part of that.
Yeah, just trying to make sure, obviously keeping up with the changing elements of what's going on in the collegiate game, and just trying to do our part and trying to entice and hopefully helps recruiting. And if that's the case, obviously you put a better product on the field. So we're definitely rooting for Coach Creighton, and hopefully we get another opportunity here as it relates to hopefully winning that division and the conference and getting a better bowl game than what we've had in the past.
Charlie, you got to be thinking to yourself, wow, Detroit Lions they're the real deal, man. Like, this is crazy, right? And obviously you were here in the late 90s, early 2000s, and remember the tough times. You had such a great career with the Steelers and were on so many good teams in Pittsburgh, but this turnaround in Detroit, can you believe it?
It's exciting, and it really is. And to be honest with you, this is last year was the first time in 22 years since I've been gone that the Lions have played 1 week longer than the Steelers. So having to go through all of that, I've never really had to go through it. And of course, I'm cheering them on and getting to that point because I really thought that they had all the momentum moving forward, and falling short was tough. But either way, that's why all the excitement that they're garnering right now is worthy of it. And when you look at what Coach Dan Campbell have done up there, it's a tremendous turnaround. And I'm excited to, I wouldn't say be a part of it on an everyday basis, obviously, because I'm not there. But being a former Lion, of course, I'm still continuing to root for them because I hopefully one day that they're able to hoist that Lombardi trophy and have a Super Bowl parade as they're strolling down Jefferson and Woodward and all of those good things. It's exciting, not only for the fan base, but individual players, and having to experience that twice here in Pittsburgh, man, that's something that really you hope every player has the opportunity to be a part of.
Are you on any kind of former Lion player text thread? There's a lot of them. Do you still stay in touch with some of these guys? Because I know they're watching these games and the phones just go crazy.
Oh, I am, for sure. And there's probably maybe about 20 of us on one type of group chat, as between offense and defensive guys. So of course, things can get feisty in there as the game is going on. But it's exciting to keep up with the guys, understanding kind of what they're going through and what they're doing nowadays. And now you're starting to see the kids come up, and you're excited about talking about their kids in college, and hopefully they get an opportunity with the draft. So it's really cool to be a part of, and really just, keep in contact with a lot of guys, because of course, distance, you lose communication, you lose track of our communication. But, we've always had that, we've had it probably about 3 or 4 years that we've had that thread going. So it's cool to be able to follow those guys.
Yeah, you could just block Dirt Jordan. He's trouble.
Yeah, he's always exciting, man. Of course, he livens up the thread.
Oh God.
Wilson. Yeah, I mean Cedric Irvin, Cedric Irvin,
yeah,
he lights up the chat as well. So it's pretty cool to, just to kind of see the names pop up. Of course, everybody's kind of in different parts of the country, so you can kind of see some of those messages when they respond. You're like, you do realize it's 11 o'clock at night to me, but it's only 8 o'clock to them. So those are things that happen. So we just got to be, kind of mindful of what part of the country those guys are in.
I love it. Charlie Batch with us, former Lion, former Steeler quarterback. Lions and Steelers coming up on Saturday. When you look at how Detroit is doing this, Charlie, and how they're building it, what stands out for you?
Yeah, I think they're just feeding off the energy that Coach Campbell brings to the table. And I think, when you have that credibility, he delivered on a lot of promises coming into it. And of course, people have heard that over the years, but to be able to go out there and actually produce, be competitive, you understand why the fan base is excited, because now as they head into this season, they're not the sleeper anymore. They're not just going to creep up on people. They are leading from the front. And when you do that, now you have to learn to win in that particular manner, because when people look at the schedule, that was once a win that people would circle. Now it's like, oh, the Lions are coming to town. That is a huge, that's huge as it relates to what has been done in the past. And it kind of reminds me of the Steeler days when people look like, oh, the Steelers are coming to town, and you are that game of the week. They rightfully earned that opportunity. And right now it's going to be interesting to follow them, but also understanding that they are a loaded team. This isn't one of those ones where they were one and done, or was just a fluke for one season. I truly believe that they belong.
Take us back to 98, as I obviously covered you, and you and I always joke about your first start in Minnesota, where you got pulverized by the Vikings, taking over for Scott Mitchell. But like, you had a really good preseason. So Bobby Ross, you got confidence, and you gained confidence with him to get a chance to play later on in the year. But the preseason now has changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And, those preseason games, that's why I always say, that the preseason game mean more to some than others. And for me at that particular point, it was, number one, proving that I understood the offense, trying to move the ball down the field and put them in the end zone. And that trust had to be built. And back then, you did have two-a-days. So there were multiple opportunities that you had throughout camp to get those reps, earn the trust. And then ultimately, when my number was called, hopefully being able to transition that into the game. And the one thing about it, making sure that the offense it wasn't too big. And for me, it was able to, step in and be able to do some of those things. Would have loved a lot more wins at that particular point, but I would not change it for the world. And the reason why I say that is because being thrown in the fire and gaining that experience, it was one of those things that was rough. You had to obviously be mentally tough to be able to do that, but also it helped me elongate my career as well, because when I went into the backup role, it was one of those things where I had to lean on the experience of me playing at a young age, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I appreciate the opportunity the Lions organization, specifically Bobby Ross, have given me to be able to step in and be able to play at a young age.
You would have been so much better in that Minnesota game if you had Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell. Right?
I mean, those guys are nice.
Oh my goodness. What about Jared Goff? Where are you on him in terms of entering into this year? And obviously he got the big money and he's making over $50 million a year. How do you kind of perceive him? And is he top 5 in your mind, top 10 in this league?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me as far as where he's at, right? Because obviously when you are cast off from one team, that fire is going to be lit, and no matter what he did, and he took that team to a Super Bowl and they lost, but he has that experience and people casted him off, which I'm like, why? Just because one coach gave up on him. And as he moved in, and when you talk about building a team and you have that foundation, they truly believed in what he was bringing to the table, when the outside world were like, we're not really sure if he is the guy. But for him to put that work in, and rightfully so, he earned that contract. I enjoy watching him, and not only just watching him last year, but when his time with the Rams, the guy could throw the football. So he never lost confidence in himself. And, Detroit is a tough city because, when you're not winning, of course, all the blame is there. And when he goes from a winning organization, essentially trying to help an organization build that winning culture, it starts with him. And you have to give him a lot of credit for being able to stand in here, deliver, and really do some things that haven't been done up there in a long time.
Charlie, again, going to be on the TV call as the color analyst on the TV side on the Steelers TV network. Interesting, when you talk about the quarterback situation and everything, a lot of talk about it in Pittsburgh, right now with Fields versus Wilson. Here in Detroit, it's Hendon Hooker versus Sudfeld for the backup spot. I don't know how much you've seen of Hendon Hooker, but as a rookie that has been out for injury for a whole year, how tough is it to kind of get, your rhythm back? How long will that take a guy like him?
Yeah, and you just try to hopefully get, take advantage of some of those opportunities. If for whatever reason Jared Goff didn't practice or they limit him during that case, you want to now see him more. And when you're thrown into the fire, essentially in the preseason games, people are like, why are you talking about the backup? It's important because you have to build the trust for the guys who are playing, that are watching that game, to say, if you ever had to step into the huddle, that you can go in and deliver. And that's why it's important each and every week and each and every play that you go out there and hopefully prove that you can do it. So I think you'll probably see a lot of him on Saturday. If it was me, I would probably put him out there just to make sure that he needs those reps. And if he can go out there and deliver, it changes it's an interesting conversation up there in Detroit to figure out, okay, who the backup is. But this is what the preseason is about. You're talking about all the other guys that aren't your starters, that just in case they have to play. And that's just the beauty of sports. And that's why I love it.
Tell me about what's going on in Pittsburgh. I mentioned Wilson and Fields. That's what all the talk shows are talking about, and everything else. I read Tim Benz all the time, and that's the big topic. How do you view that, first and foremost, that quarterback situation right now in the Burgh?
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic nationally. People are talking about both of those quarterbacks, but really when you peel back the layers a little bit, they struggle on the offensive line. And that's the reason why they didn't have time to push the football down the field. But anytime that you only put 15 points up in 2 preseason games, of course, that's going to be topic of conversation. But I think right now, just from what I've seen in training camp, both quarterbacks were really good. Well, I would say Justin Fields because he practiced, but then Russell's first week was last week because of the injury. They limited him. But I don't see any changes. I think Russell Wilson will be the starter week 1, outside of injury, of course, and I'm not wishing that on anybody. But they do have a nice 1-2 punch if for whatever reason Justin Fields has to go into the game. He's done some nice things in the preseason, but there's a lot of things that they have to clean up. But because it's the preseason, don't panic. And right now, everybody nationally is panicked, but in Pittsburgh, they are not.
It's crazy because the Steelers have always won. Even bad Mike Tomlin teams are like 9-8 and somehow get into the playoffs. There's never a 6-11 season, right? I mean,
last time it's been like that since 2003. Literally, we were 6-10. That was the last losing season around here.
That's wild. I mean, it's amazing. How do they do it? I mean, I mean, you've been a part of that organization as a player, broadcaster, everything else, but what that consistency, where does that come from?
Yeah, it starts with the Rooney family, and it's one of those things where they don't make knee-jerk reactions when everybody else is clamoring fire, fire, fire. They stay the course, and it's one of those things that worked, obviously with Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, and then now Mike Tomlin. And when you have that stability there, people appreciate that, and that's just one of the things that I've seen. Now was my 22nd year around Pittsburgh. So when you see that, it starts with them, but that's where, they're not panicking in that particular manner. When they believe in their guy, they are going to stick through him through and through. And that's exactly what they've done with Tomlin. And to your point, no losing seasons under Mike Tomlin, which is crazy to even imagine. Now, the next level is to win another Super Bowl, because it's been a very long time in Pittsburgh since they've won a Super Bowl. And of course, that hasn't happened since 2008 when we ended up beating the Cardinals. Of course, we lost to the Packers in Super Bowl 45. But around Steelers Nation, they're like, okay, it's one thing to have a winning season, but also we're used to hoisting those Lombardi trophies. It's about time. And you can see the Rooney family starting to kind of nudge a little bit to say the time is now.
Tell me about Saturday. What are you anticipating? Are there some guys you're interested in seeing? Who should the Lion fans take a look at, maybe on the Pittsburgh side, that are coming up, young guys that maybe are going to play a lot that'll have an impact on this game?
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be they want to see Van Jefferson. He's the number 2 receiver right now. Scotty Miller, who came from Tampa Bay, he's a third-team guy right now because of the injury. Roman Wilson, Michigan guy as well. So we don't know how long he's going to be out. We're hoping to get him back week 1, week 2. So that remains to be seen with that. So I'm looking at the receiver position only because there's been a lot of talk with Brandon Ayuk, whether the trade was going to happen, not happen. So those guys have to step up from that particular equation. And also offensive line. I mean, defensively, they're solid, but the offensive line, they just have to respond and say last week was a fluke. And hopefully, and we know how tough it is, and we don't know how many fans are going to be in that at Ford Field, but we always know it's a tough place to play. Crowd noise is always a factor, but it is the preseason, so hopefully you don't have that particular issue happen. But those guys on the offensive front, they're going to have to get it together in a hurry, because if you put 2 bad weeks of tape on, guess who's watching it? Your week 1 opponent.
Here's the other thing, Charlie, which is amazing to me. All the history from Mike Webster to Dawson, Pouncey, the
Right.
center position is where the Steelers were built.
And we're missing one out. You think about between Dawson, Jeff Harding's former guard.
That's right.
He was part of the Super Bowl 40 team. So
Incredible.
He switched from guard to center. So he was a part of that equation. He always gets left out, but he did one heck of a job before his retirement.
That's true. Former Lions guard, Jeff Harding. Yeah. But so my question is, I mean, right now it's just been a failing spot lately. How are they viewing that? And what's the fix?
Yeah, it's been tough because Marquise Pouncey retired 3 years ago, and they've been trying to figure out what they were going to do. And this is going to be their 3rd starting center in 3 consecutive years. And, they had Kendrick Green, who was a converted guard at Illinois. They thought he can convert to a center position in Ben Roethlisberger's final year. That didn't, he played that year, but then the second year didn't materialize. They ended up going out to get Mason Cole, a former Michigan guy. He was playing center. That didn't materialize in free agency. They had Nate Herbig this year, and then he just literally went out with a torn rotator cuff, so they placed him on injured reserve. So it looks like starting will be a rookie, and they're hoping that he takes on the role of Marquise Pouncey when he took over in 2010, when you have Zach Frazier that's here from West Virginia. So he looks like he's going to get the nod. Yeah, he's a good player. It looks like he's going to get the nod. And if his career can pan out like Marquise Pouncey, man, I don't think Steelers fans will have any problem with that.
Charlie Batch, always great to see you. Best of the Batch Foundation. By the way, Charlie's taking videos and pictures with everybody. Everybody loves this man in Pittsburgh, but you're also loved here, man. It's be great to see you on Saturday. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate it. And then I hope next time you get down to Pittsburgh, you have to come check out Best of the Batch Foundation. We literally just went from 5,300 square feet to 33,000. We officially got our 100% occupancy in April. So we were super excited to show it off. We just had a 8-week summer day camp where we had 250 kids for 4 days a week, and we had them from 9 o'clock to 3:30. So this is part of our STEAM activities that we have within the foundation, and we just celebrated 25 years this year. with the foundation. We service 3,800 kids annually in 9 counties throughout southwestern PA. So if anybody wants to learn more information about what we're doing, they actually can go to batchfoundation.org, and you'll be able to see the drawing and what the building actually looks like, because that is on the splash page of our foundation page.
Love it. Charlie, great to see you, and thanks for doing this.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Charlie Batch, with us, the former Lions quarterback, former Steeler QB, 15 years in the NFL, Super Bowl champion as well, and just a great dude. Great dude. What he does for kids in Pittsburgh and in Southeast PA, that guy's awesome. Best of the Batch Foundation, and Charlie will be doing the TV game for the Steelers TV networks. He'll be back at Ford Field on Saturday. Couple of quick notes when we come back. And Locked On Lions brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we got something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. How about that? Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game with FanDuel. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. That's awesome through September 22nd. Get on that. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Couple of quick notes from today's scrimmage before we get out of here. We mentioned before about the Penei Sewell injury, but also a couple of guys that stepped up today. First of all, Aiden Hutchinson had a monster day. He was in pass coverage, knocking down balls at the line of scrimmage. He was sacking quarterbacks. This guy's ready to take that next step. And it's kind of interesting because it's like, how much better can Aiden Hutchinson be already when he's already one of the top edge rushers and one of the top defensive linemen really in the NFC and all of the NFL. But today he just put on a clinic, and you love to see that. So a big day for Aiden Hutchinson. Let's go the opposite direction. Jake Bates today, another missed field goal, another missed extra point during practice today, during the scrimmage. We were going nuts about Jake Bates on Saturday, kicking the long field goal in Kansas City, kicking the game-winning field goal outdoors in Kansas City. He's going to be the guy, but it's practice days like today that you go, uh-oh, is there a chance the Lions add another kicker to the practice squad come next week? And just to have someone there as a security blanket like they did last year when they had Badgley on the practice squad. They got rid of Riley Patterson, elevated Badgley, and of course, Michael got hurt this year. But just a couple of notes from today's practice. We'll have more on the Sewell injury, hopefully. Maybe there'll be some news overnight, and we'll get it to you tomorrow on our Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts.